Hi kids, my name is Officer Porterfield, and I'll be reading you Who's Bad and Who's Good, Little Red Riding Hood. It's written by Steve Smallman and illustrated by Neil Price. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. It wasn't her real name. It was just what everyone called her because she was little and always wore a red cloak with a hood. One day her mother asked her to take some cupcakes and soup to her grandma, who lived in the woods. "Stick to the path and don't talk to strangers," said her mom. "And if you do meet a stranger, yell, run, and tell." "Who should I tell?" asked Little Red Riding Hood. "Someone you know, or a policeman, or a person in a shop," replied her mom. On the way to Grandma's house, Little Red Riding Hood heard someone coughing behind a tree. It was a wolf. "Hello, what are you doing out here all by yourself?" he croaked. "A stranger!" gasped Little Red Riding Hood. "I'm going to Grandma's house, so leave me alone," she yelled. She ran and ran until she met a rabbit. "Oh, hello. What's wrong?" asked the rabbit. "I'm on my way to Grandma's house with some cakes and soup, and I saw a big bad wolf, but I yelled and ran away," babbled Little Red Riding Hood. "Oh dear, how awful," said the rabbit. "Why don't you pick some flowers for your dear grandma? Then I'll come with you to keep you safe." "Oh, thank you," said Little Red Riding Hood. "That would be wonderful." While Little Red Riding Hood picked flowers, she told the rabbit all about her grandma. She's very old, and she still lives by herself. Mom says it's not safe for her to be all alone, especially when she's got so much jewelry. "I can't wait to meet her," said the rabbit. Meanwhile, the wolf arrived huffing and puffing at Grandma's cottage. Knock, knock. He knocked on the door and then went inside. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived at the cottage, she found someone snuggled up in Grandma's bed, wearing a nightie and a cap. "Oh, Grandma, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Well, they must work better than yours," said the wolf. "I'm not your grandma." "Eek! It's the wolf!" shrieked Little Red Riding Hood. "He's eating your grandma!" yelled the rabbit. "Oh no, Grandma!" wailed Little Red Riding Hood. "Yes, dear," replied Grandma, walking into the room carrying a tea tray. "What on earth is the matter?" "Oh, I thought this big bad wolf had eaten you," cried Little Red Riding Hood. "I didn't," croaked the wolf. "He was about to," cried the rabbit, moving toward the door. But just then, crash! A policeman burst in. "Thank goodness you're here," cried Little Red Riding Hood. "Arrest him." "I will," said the policeman, and he grabbed the rabbit by the ears. "Will someone please tell me what's going on here?" shouted Little Red Riding Hood. So Grandma told her, "Mr. Wolf is a friend of mine. He came to warn me that you were all alone in the woods and that you were talking to strangers, so we called the police. Mr. Wolf looked sick when he got here, so I made him put on something warm and get into bed. Then I made him some tea." "So that's why you're wearing Grandma's nightie and cap?" said Little Red Riding Hood. "Yes," replied Mr. Wolf. "I might look silly, but I'm nice and warm." "Even though you yelled and ran away, you told me where you were going. And you spoke to Rabbit, but if you didn't know him either," said Mr. Wolf. "But he's really nice," argued Little Red Riding Hood. "No, he isn't," said the policeman. "This is the famous bunny burglar. We've been after him for ages." The policeman tipped Rabbit's bag upside down, and out fell Little Red Riding Hood's cupcakes, the soup, Grandma's jewelry, and many things they'd never seen before. The policeman led the rabbit away. "I was so sure the rabbit was good and the wolf was bad," sighed Little Red Riding Hood. "You can't always tell who's bad and who's good. Mr. Wolf is delightful, and now you know him. He's not a stranger," said Grandma. Little Red Riding Hood looked over at Mr. Wolf, who was sitting in bed, drinking tea, and still wearing Grandma's nightie and cap. "Well, he might not be a stranger," giggled Little Red Riding Hood, "but he definitely looks strange." The end.